Proverbs 22:13 says, "The slothful man saith, There is a lion without, I shall be slain in the streets." There are disabled people who cannot work, but in our modern era of tech, there are more people who could work that could not have been employed in the previous centuries of human history. For example, during biblical times, if a man was physically disabled, it was difficult to find work. Most jobs required physical labor. There were a very limited number of jobs that would qualify as what we call desk jobs today. And in that day of high illiteracy and the need in a lot of the cases to know Hebrew and Greek and Aramaic for most of those non-labor type of bookkeeping and record-keeping jobs. Well, fast forward to the 19th century and more opportunities opened up with better accounting and bookkeeping, along with jobs working as store clerks and telegraph operators and so forth. Then came the 20th century and those type of non-labor jobs increased steadily until we reached this 21st century where it's become hard to find people not only physically able but willing to do physical labor. But even with such advanced tech and opportunity in non-physical labor employment, there are people who just don't want to work. They don't want to earn a living. And our proverb demonstrates the absurdities such people will go to in avoiding any kind of work. To start with, such a person is called a sloth, or is described as being slothful. These people are just lazy. There's just something wrong with these people, and it's spiritual. We know this because, as our proverb demonstrates, they lie. They just make up reasons they can't work. Even saying they can't work is a lie. They actually won't work. And claiming they can't work, it's just dishonest. And when offered a job, such people will come up with the most obvious and stupid reasons for not working, like, there's a lion outside, and if I go out there, I'll be killed. The Greek word for that is hogwash. When I was a kid, a friend of mine had an uncle who just wouldn't work. He rarely would do anything. He'd cut someone's grass or paint a fence or something, but it was only so he'd have enough money for gas, some money for a bag of pot, and some spending money, when he's out and about, as he lived at home and mooched off of his elderly mother. And I asked my friend, and he said, well, he's holding out for a management position, but he said that for years. Later I found out that this became a standard line and is used as a punchline in movies like Christmas Vacation, with Cousin Eddie's wife Catherine explaining that Eddie's years of unemployment were because, quote, he's holding out for a management position, end quote. Watch the TV version if you watch that movie, by the way, but it's not as unrealistic when you hear that kind of a response, but it's just as absurd as saying you're afraid you'll be eaten by a lion if you go outside looking for work. Hopefully you can say, well, that doesn't describe me. Whether you're a student or a homemaker, or you work with regular employment, work in ministry, serve in the military, and on the job types of employment go, or even if you're unemployed but you're making a serious, genuine effort at finding work, that's it. That's good. You're not a sloth. Being unemployed doesn't mean you're a sloth, but being unemployed and not looking for work, that's another matter. And the fact is, if you're not willing to work, you're not out trying to find a job, you cannot be right with God. If you're not working or working at finding work and you're able to work, unless, of course, you've earned a retirement, or you're independently wealthy, or certifiably incapable of holding employment. In other words, if you're able to pay your bills by other means, then by all means, stay retired. But don't be slothful. Instead, we should make 1 Corinthians 10:31 our intention every day when we wake up and do what we're supposed to do. Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God.